Right on the heels of new Toys for Bob news dropping, some new Xbox news drops as well, and that news could indeed affect and be a part of Spyro the Dragon. Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and back with a brand new video. So today we're going over a small piece of news that has come out of Xbox and how it could apply to the upcoming Spyro 4 title. Now, before we dive in, let me preface, there is dedicated Xbox news here, and then we're going to enter and shift into educated speculation territory. I'm trying to make it clear to everybody what is the news coming in from outside places, news that I'm bringing, and also my personal theories and thoughts. Having said that, today's video and theory will lead us to an interesting territory that will result in a whole dedicated video in the future. But let's go over to LinkedIn. So over on LinkedIn, an employee of Xbox, Iasia Brown, posted her experience in being a senior game producer at Xbox. Now, some Twitter profiles already nabbed a small bit of info from her profile and then posted it as news and ran with it, which is 100% fine because what they are reporting is technically true. But I wanted to go and look myself and read the full context of what it is that she said. So let's start with the big breaking news line that people have already started to run with. And here it is right here. Leading development pipelines for 2 unannounced cross-platform titles set for release in 2026. Now, we could just take this line and run off and start speculating, but I wanted to pick up a few more interesting pieces in this section. First off, the specific job is at Xbox Game Studios Publishing, which is different from your regular first-party Xbox studios. I'll explain in a second why this distinction is important. She also mentions driving end-to-end development of AAA and AA titles in collaboration with world-class studios. Then at the bottom here, it says that she is partnering closely with internal stakeholders and external studios to deliver genre-defining games at global scale. Now, like I mentioned before, what is the specifics to Xbox Game Studios Publishing? Well, this specific wing of Xbox doesn't just necessarily work with first-party games, as in games where Xbox owns the studio and the IP they are working on, but more specifically third-party studios and games, meaning studios that Xbox doesn't own but are partnering with. This is why I highlighted Iasia Brown's repeated mentions of working with external studios. So here is the raw news. Xbox has 2 games that are currently unannounced and are releasing in 2026. They are either AA or AAA scaled and are seemingly from third-party studios, which are studios not owned by Xbox. These games are also titles that are going to be on multiple console platforms, meaning beyond Xbox. Oh, and while this isn't of course confirmed by Iasia's profile, we can just broadly assume that these titles will likely be on Xbox Game Pass day 1. I don't think that's a far stretch for me to say. Okay, so how does this Xbox news apply to Spyro? Well, first of all, of course, Spyro is now owned by Xbox, which you probably already knew. But additionally, I literally just released a video, which I will link at the end of this one, that goes over Spyro's potential development time using previous Toys for Bob's projects as a measuring stick, along with my sources telling me that the next Spyro project started around the start of 2024. The result is, if things follow the right patterns and go the right scale and way, Spyro may be coming out in 2026, which, what do you know, happens to be when one of these unannounced projects is being released. Also, using the information that these 2 projects are probably coming from third-party studios, it continues the lineup with Spyro, as Toys for Bob became an indie third-party studio, but also immediately announced that they are currently working and partnering with Xbox, which ticks a few more boxes. Additionally, Xbox has a bad bad tendency of announcing games way too early. Activision, on the other hand, frustratingly keeps their advertising times quite short, around 6-ish months. Now, Spyro is technically an Activision-based IP, as Activision owned them before Xbox came along and bought the whole company out, and it's almost August 2025, and these two unannounced games haven't been, well, announced by Xbox, which is interesting because Xbox, like I said, has a tendency to announce things very early. Also, Toys for Bob's current project is being considered as a AAA title, according to Manny Benanav, the writer currently employed at Toys for Bob, working on what we assume to be is Spyro. Also, in terms of Game Pass, Spyro Reignited Trilogy is already on Game Pass, so Spyro 4, or whatever this next Spyro title will be called, will most likely be there day one. With its eventual announcement, it will also likely cause a gigantic surge of downloads for the Reignited Trilogy, which will already be there ready for everyone to try. It's already set up perfectly for Spyro. But the big thing is, and this is something that many people have been concerned about, and is something that I wanted to put a spotlight on, is that these projects will be on multiple platforms, which means, yes, it will almost certainly, not certainly, but almost certainly will be on PlayStation. Now, it makes complete sense because the majority of Spyro's fan base is rooted in PlayStation's history. Making it exclusive to just Xbox is stupid and simply just earns them a lot less money. It doesn't make any sense. I also hope that they can get the game to come to Switch 2 day one, because that is an audience that does even better with platformers than Xbox, especially in the platforming space. So when you take a step back and look at the overall connections between what the Xbox news is and compare it to what we kind of know or what we are assuming about Spyro, it looks like things are really gelling well together. Could one of these unannounced titles mentioned in this profile be a brand new Spyro the Dragon? Does that mean that we are finally going to see him come back in 2026? Yes, it's possible. But there's a few more things we have to cover. See, the problem is when dealing with a company as big as Xbox, especially how everything may fit perfectly well together right now, things can then get delayed, changed, or worst case, thrown out, especially when it comes to unannounced titles. If you've seen the news recently from Xbox, you know what I'm talking about. So if you're watching this when this video comes out, it very well may be correct, but 6 months from now, it may not be correct anymore. So keep that in mind as you hear all this information. And there is one more hiccup that I initially missed that made me almost scrap this whole video, and then suddenly led to the following portion of the script and video and the start of yet another video. Looking back, I realized that a game being cross-platform means more than just multiple platforms that game could be played on. But when you look at the sheer definition of cross-platform play, it implies that these two unannounced games will have online play. As you may know, a single-player Spyro experience wouldn't have much need for online play, and thus these two projects couldn't be for Spyro. I thought that this was the end of the script and the video, and as I went to delete it, something hit me. If everything else had fit perfectly before figuring out this fact, maybe it's because there is something missing, something that we don't know about the project yet. Well, I have stated in past videos about this that, judging by the information that we know, this Spyro title seems like it's going to be more than just a classic modern take on the series, but a potential evolution, a step forward. So I thought, why would a single-player Spyro title need cross-platform online play? what would be the need for that? And then it hit me. What if this brand new Spyro title has an optional way to play the game, like co-op play? If it has online co-op, that would mean that anybody, doesn't matter if you have a Switch, Xbox, or PlayStation, you could play all together for the game. Now, I don't know how the context of this would work, but essentially, with cross-platform play and co-op, that would mean that it doesn't matter who owns what console. If you have a copy of Spyro 4, you could play co-op together. Now, co-op has seen more of a comeback, especially in recent years, especially as well in the platforming scene. Not to mention, It Takes Two, for example, a 3D platformer that is exclusively co-op, went on to win Game of the Year in the past. Now, I'm not saying that this would be a Spyro game that is exclusively co-op. I'm making sure that it is clear that I am saying that this could be a co-op play that is an optional way to play the game. Additionally, Toys for Bob did try their hands at some, albeit basic, co-op play in Crash Bandicoot 4: It's About Time. Toys for Bob also has a large history of having co-op in their games, especially when you go and look at Skylanders. So I think there is enough evidence to suggest that co-op play is something that Toys for Bob may both have an interest and experience in when it comes to the next Spyro entry. So it is possible that if, make sure that's clear that everybody hears what I'm saying here, if one of these two games mentioned on this profile is Spyro, if it is Spyro, it may have cross-play co-op and will allow you to play the game in a way with somebody else, not mattering what console they currently have. But what could that look like? What could a co-op Spyro look like with online play? Well, that's a video I'm going to start working on as soon as this one is done. If you want to see me explore more Spyro 4 features and potential ideas and what a potential co-op mode could look like, make sure to subscribe to stay tuned for those videos. Now, 2026 seems to be a strong year for the Purple Dragon. Whether that's when we will hear about it, see it, or play it, we are not sure. But if you want to check out why I think 2026 is going to be a big year for Spyro fans, you can check out this video right here. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.